In this course, we are going to be talking about Form SSA-44. That's Social Security Administration Form 44. Now, this form is generally used to appeal IRMAA surcharges. Before we begin, I do want to talk a little bit about IRMAA. That is the income-related monthly adjustment amount. Effectively, what happens when you apply for Medicare or you are on Medicare, the amount that you pay per month is dependent on your income. If you are below a certain threshold, you pay the base premium. If you go above income thresholds, you end up paying additional premium. Many people, as they're working, may have higher levels of income. They may be 65 or 66 and still working, and their income's higher because they're still gainfully employed. Then when they retire, their income drops. Now, the way IRMAA surcharges are levied is the Social Security Administration looks back 2 years to see what your taxes were 2 years ago, and that's the income that they use in order to adjust your Medicare premium. So there's a 2-year look back. So what happens is people retire. The following year, their income is much lower, but the IRS looks back 2 years and sees this high level of income from when you were employed. And so there is this potential that you end up paying IRMAA surcharges even though your income is low because they're looking back 2 years. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at a form that you can fill out that could potentially reduce your IRMAA surcharges by appealing your income. Let's take a look. Now, in order to find Form SSA-44, you can just pop over to Google, type in Form SSA-44, and the link that you're interested in is this one by the Social Security Administration. It's ssa.gov, Medicare Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. And so this is the form that you click on that PDF, and it's going to pull up this document that you see right here. This is the form. It's relatively short. It has basically 2 pages that you fill out and then additional pages of instruction. But you fill out your first name and Social Security number. And as we scroll down here, you'll actually see the IRMAA surcharge brackets. For single filers, the first bracket begins at $103,000, meaning if your income goes over that amount, you will pay an additional $69.90 of premium for your Part B every month. And if you are under Medicare Part D, you'll pay an additional $12.90 for Part D. So if you add these two numbers together, assuming you're on Part B and Part D, that would be your total IRMAA surcharge for going into the first bracket. These brackets are also cliffs, meaning if you go over $103,000 in income, even by 1 penny, you pay the full amount of the IRMAA surcharge. If you were below this by 1 penny, you pay none. So these are all cliffs and something that should be avoided if possible. You can see there's 5 different IRMAA surcharge brackets for single filers. There's also 5 for married filers, and they range from $69.90 per month all the way up to $419.30 per month. To put this in perspective, if you were married filing jointly, you would actually multiply these numbers by 2 because you and your spouse would end up paying IRMAA surcharges based on your household income since you're filing jointly. Now, the brackets are twice as wide. So you can see the cliff is at $206,000 rather than $103,000. But if you go over it, you'll pay twice as much in surcharges because this $69.90 applies to you and your spouse if you are both on Medicare. If you're in the highest surcharge tax bracket, married filing jointly, you will pay more than $10,000 in IRMAA surcharges for your Medicare. So this can be a big deal depending on how many brackets you go through as a filer. So if we scroll down here, again, remember we were considering the situation where you have just retired and your income has decreased. The Social Security Administration is going to look back 2 years at your income and say, you're a high income earner, you have to pay surcharges. But you're like, wait a minute, I'm retired. My income's way lower. On this form, you can check the box in step 1, work stoppage, and then fill out the date of your life-changing event, meaning when you retired. Any of these life-changing events could potentially qualify. So you can fill this out for any of these reasons. But you'll check the appropriate box. When you come down here in step 2, you're going to fill in the tax year in which your income was reduced. So let's say that I retired in 2024. I could fill in here my 2023 tax year, my actual AGI and any tax exempt interest, and then my filing status. So this is the year where your income was higher on that tax return, to be the years where you're working. Once you fill that out, step 3 is to estimate where your modified adjusted gross income is today. And so you'll fill this out for the tax year that you're currently in. Estimate your adjusted gross income. Say I was earning $200,000 before I retired, and now I'm earning $44,000 just from my Social Security. You can fill in your estimated AGI of $44,000, any tax exempt interest, in your filing status. So it's the year you were working with the high income for step 2, followed by your estimate of your income for step 3. Some important things to note for this: capital gains will impact this, interest income on investments will impact this, etc. So there's strategies you can do to minimize that. But effectively, you fill this form out with your estimated lower income. Last but not least, you need to provide supporting documentation for this. When you fill this out, sign it, you're going to send it to your local Social Security Administrative Office. I emphasize local there because there's not a standard rule on whether this is accepted or not. And so since it may or may not be accepted, you just submit it and do your best. It doesn't hurt anything to try. So this is Form SSA-44, and one of the ways that you can potentially reduce your Medicare adjustment amounts, particularly when you first retire.